Hi dear friends. From last video you already know that we live in Georgia. Here in this house, which Georgians gave us for free. We will take a little walk around the garden now. Let me tell you about our travels. We traveled 8 months. We looked a lot on our way. We have a lot of experience on travel. Exactly on an electric bike. I will not show you the electric bike. He's standing there. In the room you saw him in the last video already. See. One person wrote a comment. Why do you need an electric bike if you have working legs? That is, you can pedal. This logic is present in many European countries. In America, when bikepacking lovers just pedaling and traveling. But there is a big difference between me and these lovers. You know which one here, guess from one time. Just y'all don't understand the situation. We live on the way. That is, we are our life. Those bikepackers who love to twist pedals, they do it in the summer. They do it light. They do it their week 2 well max. My son and I. We moved out, our house was taken away. That is, we are with Ukraine and we have a house. We cannot go back home. We left without money. With no home, no nothing at all. Only we had electric bikes and a couple phones. So we can't afford to film anything for the winter. Nothing. Somewhere to stay or go home. You understand, that's the nuance. So we took a few warm bedrooms. As warm as possible, a lot of warm things. Many things, of all things. Gas cylinder, which only weighs 330 kilograms. And we packed so to live on the road. You understand what the nuance is, and that's why we have a lot of weight, which must be carried. And if you twist your feet and pedaling and go, it was still. If this and mountains, that's how these. Here you see the mountains in Georgia. Then it is very hard. It's very hard, I will tell you. Especially bad situation when you're on the road driving. There is a slight climb and this is such a busy track where a lot of cars, big traffic, and you have to get off your bike. We went without electric bikes on our feet. We drove somewhere 1,000 kilometers. But then they decided to collect electric bikes. And here we go on pedals, and here's a slide. We can no longer pedal at our weight. And we turn out. Get off, we go on foot, cars rush past us. This is very risky for life. And very dangerous. That is, we said that this is how we will not do it anymore. That's why we put together electric bikes, and travel on electric bikes. That is our motors, they are very powerful. If would we abide by the norms, which are in Europe, they're in America, which are in America. 250 for an electric bike, over there 250W. Then our engines would just burn. I'm telling you for sure. We already have a kilowatt motor of 1000W already warmed up strongly in the summer. When we were in Turkey, and we climbed a steep enough climb. And my controller already overheated. Motor overheated. I just sometimes have the habit of touching, because I already have. Before this bike, it burned in short, some parts that burned. And here I already have a habit of touching at temperature. And I felt that he was just hot. It is impossible to hold a hand, and we stopped and stood. And the temperature was somewhere 35-38 degrees in the yard. That's why we stopped at electric bikes. Why electric bikes? Because I decided that this is the cheapest mode of transport. Not counting standard ordinary bicycles that you twist, on which you pedal. electric bicycles, except for the investments you make. Well, I have in this case, I have my own build. So minimum money. It cost, that is, our bikes cost. That's if you collect with yourself. With back Tesla batteries here. Are there Tesla cars? All of you know Elon Musk, our favorite. Or unloved. But there are cars that they crash sooner or later. And it turns out are people like me are like other people. Pulling batteries from there. Well, they sold me. I didn't personally pull out myself. That is, they sold me 200 batteries for my bike and 110 batteries on my son's bike. And it turned out my battery power is very large. 230 kilowatt of my bike power and 1.5 kilowatts son. Such power you in the store will not buy it exactly 100%. 500 there, well, they're 500 W. And he and this battery will be charged for a very long time. There's 6 hours I can charge the battery in an hour, you understand. And most importantly, that the outlet does not float at someone who gives and wires not well. My wires will not burn out. But the outlet to withstand this important point. That's why that kind of travel, which we identified on electric bikes, I counted that it is on the cheapest. That is, we were given free charging everywhere in any country, wherever we are. At least that Bulgaria, at least Moldova, at least that Turkey, at least that Georgia. Even though to Romania is everywhere, we have free charge. It's very comfortable, cause when you have no money, you just drive for free. That is, you can endlessly drive. In motors there are gears plastic. Are those people who are afraid that these plastic gears will break? No, they will not break if you have a powerful enough motor. This is how we have kilowatt. We loaded them godless. That is merciless, and the gears are whole as new. I really have 4 sets of spare gear in bags. So I'm ready for what if they broke. There is a design of electric motors. There are 2 types. Designs are gear and direct drive. Who, well, as a rule here is a regular user. He does not know such nuances, because he just bought a bike and riding. But as a rule it is a gear motor that you buy. There are direct drive, they are high speed. They are powerful, and they're not those plastic gears which break. That is, such a motor, it is eternal. I had a 3 kilowatt before that engine from the firm Q & Shun, who understands the subject. And he was very heavy, he weighed 12 kilograms 13. And he certainly worked well, but I decided to lighten up. My motor weighs now 3 kilowatt, it is 3 times less power. But what is the nuance? Here weighs 4 or 5 kilograms somewhere. So here's this gear kilowatt mine now. But he is similar in power. Just at his expense he passes the gears. Here are these gears. He is less speed, he has up to 45 kilometers h. And that had up to 80. But I don't need any more, because on such wheels and on such a frame, already dangerous, over 45 to go. 45 is if you're driving on a flat road. Here are pros. A lot, you don't get tired. You just ride, you enjoy riding. These are pros, that is, here are these people who pedals, they are often very tired. And they are all in soap, all in foam, and they just constantly want to drink, and it's very difficult. Constantly pedal over long distances. Especially when the mountains, you know, that's the worst thing, is when not a flat surface. And the mountains, and on the mountains you just squeeze like a sponge. And in this mode constantly go up and down. Here we once went on mountains on pedals on Moldova. And you turn out all sweaty, all warmed up. Climbing this mountain. Then sharp cooling, you go down again, go up. Constantly thirsty. It's just such severe wear. That's why it's definitely better on motors. When you ride, are in heavyweight with big bags, and when you're going long distances, but by norms. For example, in Europe, I'm not to risk driving such engines because they're AA norms. Here is a by electrician money, dear. That is, we have my bike standing. 1,800 euro, somewhere like that, and it's very cheap compared to those bikes, which are sold in stores and with worse parameters. One bike can drive at least 100 kilometers with my son. Minimum. It's with bags. With bags 100 kilometers, 150 without bags. Here you understand what a difference. 15 you will drive with bags, their kilometers 15. 26 and the battery will deflate, and then you will charge it for 6 hours. And at us we are going 100 kilometers and we are charging for an hour. That's the difference of homemade. Here is on electric bikes. I will say something else. Weaknesses of him. See ya. Bike rim, they no matter how cool they are there, they aren't meant for weights like that. And so when you catching some specific ones there, bumps or there, here's my son for 2 weeks flew into the hatch open, and he accordingly bent the rim shorter. Here is, therefore here, weak spot is absence not depreciated great. That is, the lack of rear suspension, and a rim starts to suffer. That is, immediately here suffer rim, I will tell you for sure. They have to be leveled or replaced altogether. That is it. Electric bike, he is good, but he is for long-term travel not good. I will tell you that is, if there is money. If there is money, better to sit, I think, on a motorcycle or a car. Here, but if you get on a motorcycle, you will have the same problems as on an electric bike. See what problems? Here's an open air. It's raining. You immediately get wet. You need to look for some shelter, where you should shelter from the rain. Or pull the film, which you carry with you, to close it all. And electric bikes should be covered with film, because they don't like water, that's for sure. They just will short their wires and everything, and your electric bike will not. Here, and the inconvenience is staged up. Somewhere to stand up. That is a lot of people just don't like when you get somewhere. Well, few here are not everywhere you can become. Not everywhere in those countries in which we passed. Almost everywhere you can become. That is Turkey, Bulgaria, Romania. They are very simple and these are simple countries and they have little rules about this. But nevertheless, in Turkey we were driven one time. When you're on a car ride, you don't have that kind of inconvenience with the cold, with rain, and with all these things or weather. And you can get up. Just get up and that's it. No one will know. What are you sleeping in that car? She just stands and everything. That is, the car is much more comfortable. You have to pay for gasoline. You have to pay for insurance. So the car is you know. Here are the people who love having a car. They get on bikes and travel on electro. On bicycles. I'm one of those who would get on the car if there was money. Because one thing to travel a week by bike on high, and another thing when you live on the road. That's a whole different thing. So the machine is more necessary and practical. If you live on the road, none of you are from travelers who thinks bikes are better there. Bikes didn't sleep. They're for months at minus. Couldn't in the rain there for weeks or months. This is how it is here in Georgia. Rain here for 10 days. And just will pour without a break. You understand? And when you sit in a tent and everything is raw, and already your things start to bloom. Zwilho like this, it is very bad. Therefore, car is much better. For long-term travel. For temporary travel, yes, great is better. You get high. You breathe, you warm up. But we warm up constantly. And we need a car. That's the plan. Here, well, I think for a start. For first meet us. Information is enough. Stay on the channel. Subscribe. This channel is new. I am in English, well, not fluent, and so you have to use a translator. But I teach him, and sooner or later I will speak English. And you'll get a lot of fun listening to my actual speech. Bye.